the last ride. I've been an Uber driver for a couple of years now. You see all kinds of people, drunks, couples fighting in the back seat, quiet types who just stare out the window. But there's one ride I'll never forget. It was around 2 a.m., the dead hours of the night. I had just dropped off a couple at their apartment when a new request popped up. The pickup location was on the outskirts of town, near some old industrial buildings that had been abandoned for years. The name on the app was just Sam. No last name, no profile picture. I should have trusted my gut and ignored it. When I pulled up, the street was empty, lit only by a few flickering street lights. No one was waiting. I double-checked the address, then rolled down my window and called out, "Hey, are you Sam?" For a moment, silence. Then, out of the darkness, a tall figure emerged. He moved strangely, his steps slow and deliberate. He wore a hood, and his hands were shoved deep into the pockets of his jacket. Something about him made my skin crawl, but I forced a smile. "Hey, you going somewhere?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just slid into the back seat and closed the door. "Where to?" Finally, he spoke, but his voice was off. Too flat, too empty. "Just drive," I hesitated. "I need a destination, man." "Downtown," he said after a pause. His voice was barely above a whisper. I started the trip, but my nerves were on edge. Every now and then, I glanced at him through the rearview mirror. He just sat there, perfectly still, staring straight ahead. After a few minutes, I tried to make conversation. "Long night?" "Nothing." "You, from around here?" Still nothing. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. The air in the car felt heavy. Then, at a red light, I saw him in the mirror. He was grinning, but it wasn't a normal grin. His mouth stretched too wide, showing teeth that looked too sharp. A chill ran down my spine. I kept my eyes on the road, heart hammering in my chest. I was about to ask him if everything was all right when my phone buzzed. A new notification. "Passenger canceled ride." I glanced at the app, confused. The ride was still going. But the message was clear. No active ride. That's when I heard him chuckle. I turned around and the back seat was empty. My breath caught in my throat. The seatbelt was still buckled. The door never opened. But he was gone. I slammed on the brakes, nearly skidding off the road. My hands were shaking. I whipped my head around, searching the empty street. Nothing. And then, my phone buzzed again. A new ride request. Pickup location right behind you. I didn't look. I just floored it, speeding through the empty streets until I reached the city. When I finally pulled over, gasping for air, my phone was dead. Completely drained despite being at 80% just minutes ago. I never drove Uber again after that night, and sometimes when I check my mirrors while driving alone, I swear I still see that grin. The wrong ride. I've taken my fair share of late-night Ubers, but this was the last one I'll ever take alone. It was past 3 a.m. and I was exhausted after a long shift at work. I just wanted to get home, take a hot shower, and pass out. When the Uber pulled up, a black sedan with tinted windows, I hesitated for just a second. Something about it felt off. But my phone matched the plate and I figured I was just being paranoid. I slid into the back seat and mumbled a polite, "Hey." The driver didn't respond. No small talk, no music, just silence. The only sound was the soft hum of the tires against the pavement. His face was barely visible in the dim glow of the dashboard, but I could see his hands gripping the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles almost white. A few minutes in, I realized something was wrong. The route on my phone didn't match the one he was taking. I think you missed a turn back there," I said, forcing a chuckle to hide my unease. No response. He didn't even glance at me in the mirror. My stomach tightened. I repeated myself, louder this time. Still nothing. I tapped the app to see the driver's profile again, just to double check. But as soon as I did, my blood ran cold. There was no profile, no name, no picture, nothing. It was like I had never booked a ride at all. My breath came faster now. My hand hovered over the door handle, but we were speeding down an empty stretch of road, nowhere near my neighborhood. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Hey man, I think I'm gonna get out here. You can just pull over." That's when he finally spoke. "You shouldn't be out this late." His voice was deep, emotionless, like he was stating a fact, not offering advice. My skin crawled. I fumbled with my phone, trying to call someone, anyone, but the screen glitched and froze. No signal. I looked up, and in the dim reflection of the rearview mirror, I saw something that made my heart nearly stop. He was smiling, grinning, wide, teeth bared, like he was enjoying this. I did the only thing I could think of. I yanked the door handle and threw myself out of the moving car. The impact was brutal, the pavement tearing at my skin as I rolled. My head spun, but I scrambled to my feet and ran toward the nearest streetlight, gasping for breath. When I turned back, expecting to see the car stopped, maybe the driver getting out, it was gone. Not slowing down, not speeding away, just gone. I reported it to Uber, to the police, to anyone who would listen, but there was no record of the ride, no driver matching the description, nothing, like it never happened. But I know it did, and every time I take a ride now, I double-check the driver's face, the car, everything, because I can't shake the feeling that one night he'll come back for me, and next time I might not get away. Wrong turn. It was a cold, rainy night when Lisa ordered an Uber to take her home. She had just finished a long shift at work and was exhausted, barely keeping her eyes open as she waited on the dimly lit sidewalk. A black car pulled up, its windows tinted so dark she couldn't see the driver. The app showed the driver's name as Daniel, with a 5-star rating, but something about the car felt wrong. The license plate matched, though, so she hesitated only for a moment before climbing into the back seat. "Cold night, huh?" the driver said as he pulled away. Lisa nodded, glancing at the rearview mirror. His eyes were dark, sunken in, like he hadn't slept in days. His smile was too wide, forced. She looked away, watching the rain blur against the window. Minutes passed in silence. She opened her phone to track the ride, but her stomach dropped. The car was heading in the opposite direction of her home. I think you missed a turn," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice steady. The driver didn't respond. She checked the app again. The driver's name had changed. So had the car model. Her breath hitched. This wasn't her Uber. Her hands trembled as she reached for the door handle. Locked. The driver finally spoke, his voice eerily calm. "You should really pay more attention when you get into a stranger's car." Lisa's screen suddenly went black. The app closed itself. The last thing she saw was the driver's grin in the mirror before the car disappeared into the night. Lisa was never seen again. The next morning, her real Uber driver reported that she never showed up for her ride. But when the police checked the security cameras outside her workplace, no car had ever pulled up.